Boom, nerdlings. Just doing another test stream to check out the Rumble studio. Yeah, that's interesting. And also quite annoying. There we go. That's a little bit better. Well done. Yes, congratulations, David. You've figured out how to press a button marked on. I'm sorry if it's confusing for you. Yeah, just getting on with a little bit of live streaming again. Let's see what we've got here. Yes, from RT.com. This is interesting. This is about AI, actually. Very interesting indeed. Yes, more US businesses see AI as a risk, according to a survey. This is interesting stuff. A wide range of industries are already reportedly being affected by generative artificial intelligence. Yes, the number of US companies that see artificial intelligence as a threat has jumped more than fivefold over the past 2 years. The Financial Times reported, citing a survey of corporate filings. Reminds me back in the day, like when I was going through school, and the computers started to take over, and everybody goes, "We've never seen anything like it before. It's going to take everyone's jobs away." True, it took a lot of jobs away, but also created a lot more that we don't know about, as one of my old teachers would say. There'll be jobs in the future that we won't even know exist and wouldn't have any idea. AI will be the same. And the Industrial Revolution also proved that, because everyone says it's going to take all the jobs away. It also created more jobs. And it's very interesting. I think that will be a large impact on people, but ironically, a lot of the people it's going to impact are the ones that, are the ones that have been saying it's a good thing, and all of a sudden it hits them. Well, they don't seem to like it for some reason. Fascinating. It's only when it affects you, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, more than half of America's largest companies, 56%, cited AI as a risk factor in their most recent annual reports. The outlet cited research by Arise AI, a platform that tracks public disclosures by large businesses. Now, in 2022, the number stood at just 9%, FT noted. The survey focused on the Fortune 500 list, an annual ranking of the 500 largest US corporations by total revenue, compiled by Fortune magazine. Like anything else, we will adapt. There will be jobs that AI simply cannot do at the moment. Definitely cannot do. Very, very interesting indeed. Yeah. And I have a funny feeling that there's always going to have to be a human in the loop somewhere. If there's not, then we will have a problem. It's like, I do have laptop computers, but I honestly prefer a desktop computer. And people go, why? Well, I can pull the plug out of the back of it. And that's what we should have with AI too. It's like this little photo here of Tesla produce humanoid robots next year, according to Elon Musk. As much as I'm looking forward to that, I want an off switch on the back of it. Interesting indeed. Yeah, just among the AI risk mentioned, the financial reports are greater competition fueled by concerns that some firms will be faster at exploiting the technology than others. Also high on the list of reputational or operational issues stemming from ethical concerns about AI's potential impact on human rights, employment, and privacy. Yeah, governments will be that far behind, it won't be funny. When they're still trying to catch up with bloody broadband internet. It's ridiculous. AI may not always operate as intended, and data sets may be insufficient or contain illegal, biased, or harmful or offensive information, which could negatively impact a company's earnings and reputation, telecoms group Motorola said. Yes, the media and entertainment industry emerged as the most concerned, with more than 90% of companies, including Netflix and Disney, seeing fast-growing AI systems as a business risk this year. Yeah, well, see, this is the reason AI is getting. We're looking at AI as a tool, particularly for writing purposes, is the fact that a lot of writers out there produce some absolute crap for movies and TV in Hollywood. I mean, for God's sake, just look at Netflix. Half the time, a lot of the stuff is just recycled. I don't mind the remake of a movie so much, but come on, is that all you can do? I mean, I can remember back when I was young. Yes, we had remakes like. Remakes such as Alien. Alien was actually a remake, I guess, of the 1974 movie that was Dark Star in some ways, by the same writer and all that sort of thing. And also the director was not Ridley Scott. 74, it was Halloween guy and The Thing, John Carpenter. And the reason I mention that is because John Carpenter's The Thing was a remake of a 1951 or a 1954 film based on Who Goes There by John W. Campbell. Now, what's interesting about that is the fact that I just find it most amusing that people just don't seem to realize that that was a remake, but we splattered some originals through the 80s, right? So you still had your Back to the Futures, you still had your, your Top Gun movies, you had everything else. Now, what they seem to be doing in Hollywood lately is just seem to be recycling everything. So if AI can do a better job, I say do it. But, again, it's based on information too that we've got to sort of, it's the first generation of AI. So we can't expect it to be perfect at this point. But, yeah, it's constant recycling. So in the entertainment industry, I can see why it's being done. The impact of generative AI, a type of artificial intelligence capable of generating text, images, and videos, is already reportedly being felt across an array of industries, FT wrote. More than 2/3 of the companies that discussed that specific type of AI defined as a risk, it notes. Yes, certainly does. Yes, one of the one of the first major label battles over generative AI, Hollywood screenwriters and actors staged a months-long strike last year over the use of AI in script writing and acting. This resulted in guidelines being adopted on how the technology be used in film and television projects. The companies that highlighted the potential benefits of AI spoke of cost efficiencies, accelerating innovation, improved customer service, and claims analysis. Yeah, now as many as 40% of all companies globally use AI, according to Exploding Topics, a platform that identifies early trends by analyzing searches and mentions on the internet. AI is most actively used in India, about 59% of companies, according to the platform. In Russia, nearly 32% of firms are already using AI to perform tasks as of late 2023, according to the National AI Development Strategy. Yeah, very, very interesting indeed. And as I say, some jobs will be taken by AI. That's unfortunate, just like when the Industrial Revolution started and when computing started. But some jobs, I think, probably will need to be taken by AI in some respects. But if the writers got together and started writing some things that are original, wouldn't have this problem. Right. What's next on the agenda? Here we go. Yes, majority of social media users unable to identify AI. Yes. Which to me is just completely hilarious. We're not at the stage yet, as far as I can tell. You've got to be really, really blind to see that it's not AI. The feet and the hands aren't right for a start. I mean, obviously it'll get better in future, but there are certain things you can actually, if you look at it, you can actually tell. Growing use of artificial intelligence is outpacing media literacy, a report in Australia has found. That's like anything else. Government technology literacy is falling far behind. I mean, our Prime Minister, each way elbow, as we call him, Anthony Albanese, doesn't understand how the internet works and memes work. He got really upset when someone did some mean memes about him. Anthony, if you ignore it, it will go away. But no, he had to push it, and that pushed the memes even further. Fascinating. Adult media literacy is not keeping pace with the rapid advancement of generative artificial intelligence, or AI, according to research published in Australia on Monday. The trend is leaving internet users increasingly vulnerable to misinformation, the authors of the research have warned. And usually you'll find the misinformation is from people screaming about misinformation. They're the ones that are pushing through, stuff. Oh no, this is a genuine article. You're absolute crap. Fascinating, isn't it? The 1984. I think this is going to be, this propaganda machine that's going to come out of AI in a lot of ways is, Joseph Goebbels would be down in hell having wet dreams. The AI industry exploded in 2022 after the launch of chatbot and virtual assistant ChatGPT by US AI research organization OpenAI. The sector has since attracted billions of dollars in investment, with tech giants such as Google and Microsoft offering tools such as image and text generators. Yeah, I think Microsoft got into OpenAI to the tune of about 10 billion at one point, just as their opening bid. Fascinating. However, users' confidence in their own digital media capabilities remains low, according to the Adult Media Literacy in 2024 paper by Western Sydney University. In a sample of 4,442 adult Australians, respondents were asked how confident they were to perform a series of 11 media-related tasks that required critical and technical capabilities and/or knowledge. On average, respondents said they could complete just 4 out of the 11 tasks with confidence. Yeah, we also see it with online campaigns, like on X. I've done a video on the channel before Elon Musk took over. It was absolutely fascinating. When the war in Ukraine started, and the hashtag I stand with Ukraine and down with Putin, and people were putting the Ukraine flag in their bio and everything else. That was all started, but was it 60 to 80% of them were bots, and that was an Adelaide University in Australia research paper, peer-reviewed and published and the whole lot. So people were around there running around screaming, going, "Oh, this must be so popular." It wasn't organic growth on Twitter at the time. No, it was machines. Yeah, absolutely fascinating. Now, the results are largely unchanged since 2021, when previous research was conducted, the paper noted. Yeah, on that thing with Twitter too, and the war in Ukraine, yes, 80%, 60 to 80% were bots. And people say, well, how can we tell? And I said, well, pretty much because every post is the same, except for the username at the top. The wording was virtually identical. I just found that fascinating that people would look at it and go, look, this is the same as this, as this, as this, as this, as this. So it's not done by a human, it's done by a machine. Unbelievable. The ability to identify misinformation online has not changed at all. As per research data, in 2021 and 2024, only 39% of responders said they were confident they could check if information they found online is true. That I can sort of understand, especially with Google, because Google will only put up what they want you to see. The recent integration of generative AI into online environments makes it even more difficult for citizens to know who or what to trust online, the report stated. The slow growth in media literacy is particularly concerning, given the ability of generative AI tools to produce high-quality deepfakes and misinformation, according to Associate Professor and Research Author Tanya Notley, as cited by the Decrypt Media Company. Yes, it's getting harder and harder to identify where AI is being used. It's going to be used in more sophisticated ways to manipulate people with disinformation. And we can already see that happening, she warned. Yes, combating this requires regulation, although this is happening slowly, Notley said. Yeah, seen a few things like that have come out lately, been photos, and look at these millions of people following this person. Look at that crowd. And then you find out that all the phones have been holding up to record this event have all got different images on them. The people have 14 thumbs and their eyes are all out of the sockets. And people are going, isn't it fantastic? I said, no, it's not. It's made up. Fascinating stuff. Last week, the US Senate passed a bill designed to protect individuals from the non-consensual use of their likeness in AI-generated naughty things or pornographic content. Contains naughty bits. The bill was adopted following a scandal involving deepfake pornographic images of US pop star singer Taylor Swift that spread through social media earlier this year. Oh, dear God. If you can't tell deepfake at this point, in technology, it's going to advance, but if you can't tell now, if you look at two different images of somebody that's been AI generated, usually their body's different, and from different people, the bodies are different. They just whack someone's heads on, the necks are out of alignment and bloody everything else. If they did that sort of stuff in real life, they did a bloody chiropractor. It's fascinating. Australians now favour online content as their source for news and information as opposed to television and print newspapers, the report noted, adding that it represents a milestone in the way which Australians are consuming media. Yeah. Yes, Australians consuming media, 90% of all our news now comes from online. Yep, good old 90%. It's absolutely and utterly fascinating. And that's what people just don't seem to understand. And when you're watching your news on the TV, if that's all you get it from, you're only getting what you're told. I honestly find that, I look at different things and I look all over the place. And this is why I get the news sources from, I like to try and get them from a whole bunch of different places. And then people can make up their minds what they believe and don't believe. Yeah. Yes, this is interesting. This is Sputnik International. Russian scientists suggest to secure Moon's North Pole during Luna 27 space mission. Yeah, this will be interesting. I just imagine the Americans pooping their pants. I think they've taken one look at Starliner and what's going on with the Artemis moon missions. Like the NASA's cancelled the rover and everything. So I think they're going to go, well, Elon's focusing on Mars. Maybe we can focus on the moon. Yeah. Now, Moscow, Russia should switch its attention from the moon's south pole to its north pole. And if it funds for two Luna 27 stations, if funds for two Luna 27 stations are allocated, send one just there, Lev Zeleny, the scientific director of the Space Research Institute, or the IKI of the Russian Academy of Sciences, told Sputnik. Yeah, earlier, RAS scientists suggested that Roscosmos send not one but two automatic Luna 27 stations, codenamed A and B, for reliability and guaranteed mission completion to the south and north poles of Earth's natural satellite. Initially, the flight of one Luna 27 was planned for 2028. So far, the decision to expand the mission is unknown. Yeah, you'd think logically two would be the way to go, if possible, for simple, human safety reasons, just in case one decides to poop its pants. Yes, I think the right path for us now would be put the North Pole in the center of attention. We need to adjust our strategy. And even if there is only one Luna 27, then make it the northern one, Zeleny said. According to the scientists, by the time Luna 27 flies to the lunar South Pole, a large crowd of devices from various countries will have already gathered there. The scientists recalled that a Chinese station is planned to land to collect soil. The United States planned to send the Viper lunar rover there. It is all planned. It's selling it off bits and pieces. Like, who are they selling it to? Well, they got sort of like a junkyard. They're putting the bits on eBay or something. They're selling the bits off. Did a video on that. It's quite fascinating. Standalone video on that. I just can't believe it. The American taxpayers should be peed right off at the moment. I mean, you've got the Star Lemon and you've got the Viper lunar lander. Yeah, so they planned. Yep, it's gone to send the Viper lunar there, and it's landed there. And it's also thinking about a manned mission within the framework of the Artemis Accords. In addition, India has already landed on the moon on the lunar South Pole and is planning new missions. Thus, Zeleny noted, in the new lunar race, Russia should not run after the crowd, where it'll be very difficult to catch up with those ahead, but choose its own niche, which would be precisely the exploration of the North Pole. At the same time, he warned that others might guess this before that. There's also speaking of poles, got a story coming up where China is multiplying the amount of Antarctic bases for research purposes. Yes. Yes, interesting, isn't it? Probably a lot of their scientists that are in the military, but they all just go down there in civilian uniform, in civilian clothing. Yeah, interesting, isn't it? As I say, I've got nothing against Chinese people or Chinese scientists. I'm just not a fan of the Chinese Communist government. Yeah. Yes. So, therefore, we need to somehow make this decision, stake it out, somehow officially secure these plans for ourselves, because otherwise the North Pole will become crowded too, the scientists emphasised. Yes, he acknowledged that there were more interesting areas for research at the South Pole that generally met the requirements of scientists, but there was some at the North Pole as well. The scientists emphasised that their number was not important here and that not the entire pole was needed for study, but some specific areas. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that? North Pole, because we always hear about the South Pole. Any astronomers out there? Any planetary scientists? Love to hear from you. Be fantastic. Yeah. Yes, Zeleny recalled that several of the most interesting zones had been selected for Luna 25, which crashed in August 2023, and a specific landing point was then determined in one of them. In addition, the scientists said that from the point of view of ballistics, the flight to the lunar North Pole was approximately the same as the South. and that the new flight scheme will not cause any difficulties. However, he expressed hope that funding will still be found for 2 missions. According to Zeleny, if 2 identical devices are sent, additional mock-ups will not be required for their ground testing. So the second Luna 27 should not make the mission much more expensive. Yeah, very, very, very interesting indeed. And as I say, I think we've got to start thinking, as this banner up here says here, beyond politics. We've got to stop doing it. Instead of going, I don't like you, we don't like that country, so we're not going to talk to them. I mean, for God's sake, the Russians were our enemy in the Cold War for years, for those old enough to remember. Then they became our friends again, and now all of a sudden they're not. 30 years later, they're not our friends again. It's like, oh, for God's sake, just frustrates the living bejesus out of me. All right, what have we got next? Here we go. NASA's Webb telescope finds evidence for an ocean world around Uranus. This should be really interesting, actually. Very interesting indeed. Now, corrected, August 19, 2024. The article has been slightly edited to make clear that both carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide have been found on Ariel, and that scientists have no explanation. Interesting. Yes, new observations by the James Webb Space Telescope suggests that an icy moon around Uranus may have underground liquid oceans. Got to hear your thoughts on this. Any planetary scientists out there? Any astrophysicists? Love to hear from you. Yes. Ariel is one of 27 moons around Uranus, the 7th planet from the Sun and the 3rd largest planet in the solar system. It's one of 4 moons that scientists have long been interested in as part of a search for water across the solar system, the others being Umbriel, Titania, and Oberon. Ariel is named after a character of William Shakespeare's The Tempest, while Titania and Oberon are from his Midsummer Night's Dream. Very interesting indeed. Just checking something here with my little live stream to make sure that it's doing its little thing. Yes, it is. Spectacular. So live stream is still streaming. Excellent stuff. That's what we like to see. Apologies for that. Right, so as part of a planned Moons of Uranus project, scientists had used JWST to observe the 4 moons for 21 hours, searching for traces of ammonia, organic molecules, water, and carbon dioxide ice. Yeah, just double-checking the Rumble Studio just to make sure that it's working. It's a very simple system for those who are interested in live streaming. It's not that complicated. So it seems to be working quite well. So I'm very, very pleased with it. Seems to be working all right. Right, so carbon dioxide ice is thought to be unlikely at Uranus because at that distance from the Sun, 20 times farther than Earth, it should turn into gas. However, Ariel's surface, which has canyons, grooves, and smooth regions, was found to contain carbon dioxide ice, particularly on the side of the moon that faces away from the direction it orbits. Okay, that's interesting. Liquid ocean. Now, where the carbon dioxide ice is coming from is a mystery, but the research paper published in the astrophysical journal Letters argues that it may be coming from a liquid ocean beneath the surface of Ariel. Another theory is that the carbon dioxide ice at Ariel is produced by molecules being broken down by radiation in Uranus's magnetic field. Absolutely fascinating. That's really, really interesting. Just thinking to myself here about how incredible that is. Love to find that liquid ocean. That'd be, definitely a start. The researchers also found carbon monoxide the first time it's been detected on Ariel. It just shouldn't be there, said Richard Cartwright, lead author from the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory in Laurel, Maryland. You've got to get down to 30 kelvins, minus 405 degrees Fahrenheit, before carbon monoxide is stable. Ariel's surface temperature is around 65 degrees Fahrenheit warmer. Okay. Yeah, and geologically active. Now, underground oceans are intriguing but not unusual. They exist on Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto, 3 of Jupiter's largest moons, and Enceladus, Titan, and Mimas at Saturn. Underground oceans fascinate planetary scientists because only geologically active worlds are thought to have any chance of hosting oceans. And that leads us into the fact that is life possible on these moons, and I personally think it is, particularly seeing as we've sort of increased the parameters of what we thought life could be, because we're very limited as human beings in our vision. I remember growing up, we were told that life could only exist within these parameters, because we based it on, oxygen and, expelling carbon dioxide and everything else. And I thought, well, that never made sense to me, because plants do it the other way. They take in carbon dioxide and expel oxygen. So certainly there could be some creatures out there that exist differently to us. I mean, have a look at the bottom of thermal vents. I was told you could never have that. That's not possible. Absolutely impossible. No life could exist there. Now there's microbial life that does exist. So how do we know that some of these oceans, you don't have a liquid methane ocean where some life can thrive in it? They may be able to draw the whatever elements are out of that and produce something that human beings could use. I mean, you think about it, fish take the oxygen out of water with their gills. So why isn't it possible that these guys could take the carbon dioxide or methane or whatever it is and turn it into something that their bodies can use for energy? It's fascinating. The carbon dioxide ice on Ariel is thought to be produced by chemical processes in the underground ocean and escapes onto its surface via cracks in its ice, possibly plumes. Yeah. And I was interested to read that, this blew me away. 1985, Bob Ballard for the Woods Hole Institute sent down the little submersible, to find the Titanic. That technology, basically 39 years later, is being adapted for these ocean-bearing moons of Jupiter and Saturn. So I mean, this is just absolutely, you imagine Uranus, you could send up a little, oh God, here we go, the Uranus probe jokes again, but sending it around to, moons around Uranus, Jupiter, Saturn, sink in a heat they got heat sink, get through the icy surface and drop one of these little submersibles in that's based on the work of Bob Ballard and his team from finding the Titanic. Absolutely amazing. Just, I can't wait for it. It's going to be so cool. Yeah, the researchers also found hints of carbonates on Ariel's surface, minerals that can only form when water interacts with rock. If our interpretation of that carbonate feature is correct, and that's a pretty big result, because it means it had to form in the interior. As I said, Cartwright, that's something we absolutely need to confirm, either through future observations, modeling, or some combination of those particular techniques. Yeah. Absolutely amazing, and I'd love to see this bit, a mission to Uranus. Now, not much is known about Ariel. NASA's Voyager 2 photographed it in '86 during its tour of the planets, but only a third of its surface was imaged. Hints that Ariel and other moons of Uranus are geologically active and possibly ocean worlds are one reason why planetary scientists have recommended NASA's mission. I absolutely love this idea. I grew up with, the Viking landers, and then the Voyager probes and the space shuttle and everything else. Just love all this stuff, but particularly the Viking landers. Voyager just blew my mind when I was young. I just thought it was the best thing ever. I just think it's awesome. The Uranus Orbiter and Probe, UOP, is a concept for a mission to tour the Uranus system. Launch opportunities are in the early 2030s, and the journey will take 12 to 13 years. If NASA does want to send a mission, it will need to act quickly, because a gravity assist from Jupiter is vital, but something that's only possible every 12 years or so. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, there's an update on a standalone video that I did a while back. Yeah, so the carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide have been found on Ariel. Yeah, scientists have no explanation. That's why we need to go and put some probes down. Sink down a few probes, I say. Absolutely fascinating. Absolutely and positively fascinating. Now, this is the one that interests me. We're talking about, Russians going to the North Pole of the Moon and South Pole and all this sort of stuff. Well, on our pole here on Earth, China has expanded its presence in Antarctica with its new Qingling base, And should Australia be worried? Yeah, this is really interesting. If you have a look at these maps, which we'll see in a minute, you'll be surprised how many research bases that China has on Antarctica. Yeah, late last year, a curious video aired on Chinese television. It showed a speck of concrete and steel surrounded by frozen tundra, perched on the rocky coast of an inexpressible island in the icy Ross Sea, deep in Antarctica's Southern Ocean. The video zoomed in to reveal a state-of-the-art building that looked almost like an icebound resort, replete with ocean views and Scandi-style timber furniture. Outside, temperatures sat well below minus 40 degrees Celsius, while insulated heating systems kept the chill at bay. The building can accommodate around 80 residents year-round. One of them, Zun He, noted how small the rooms were. This is our summer dormitory, which is relatively compact, he says dryly. In the online video, as he speaks, the sound of the patriotic music can be heard in the background. Yeah, I'm sure it does. And it's a giveaway that all is not as at first it seems. Now, this is not a fancy Antarctic resort. This is the Qinglin Station. It's China's 5th Antarctic base. 5 they've got down there. And the 3rd capable of operating a 12-month period. So there's your picture of the Qinglin base, which is like something out of these a dystopian movie, doesn't it? It's quite interesting. Yeah, this is really interesting. I'll pop down here. There's a map. There's the Great Wall Base. There's Kunlun, Qinling. There's Casey's for Australia, Davis for Australia, and Mawson. And there's Zongshan and Taishan. Yes, interesting, isn't it? I was unaware that I knew the Chinese had a presence, but I didn't realize it was that much. It's absolutely fascinating, isn't it? Absolutely fascinating. Yeah, and Australia is definitely concerned. Yeah, there's already evidence that China's been sending more than just scientists to Antarctica, and Australia's intelligence community is growing concerned. Yeah, so the first thing to do would be to send down, because apparently you're not allowed to have because of the 1959 Antarctic Treaty, you're not allowed to have military down there. So officially, if you know what I mean. So the idea behind it is that you would send down all your scientists that were in the Chinese People's Army and have them go down there in civilian clothing. Yeah. And then one day you can just go, oh, look, I've run out of clean civilian clothes. I'll have to put on a military uniform. Funny how that works, isn't it? A source inside the Australian Signals Directorate, ASD, noted China's Antarctic bases can serve as platforms for powerful satellites and radar systems. Australian intelligence agencies are aware that China's People's Liberation Army personnel have previously participated in Beijing's Antarctic program without their presence being reported. Now, that is very, very interesting, isn't it? And a bit of a worry. Yeah, this is a breach of the Antarctic Treaty, a groundbreaking legal agreement set up in 1959 that formalised the demilitarisation of the continent, splitting it into different zones and establishing the terms under which nations can operate in Antarctica. So it was originally signed by 12 countries whose scientists have been active in the region in 1957 and 1958. And it came into force in 1961 and now has 57 signatory nations, including China. Yeah, so no exploitation of natural resources and no military. Yes. And the Chinese are going, we don't care about that. Fascinating. Yes, but is China operating in the spirit of the treaty? In 2008, 6 PLA personnel were sent to Zhongshan Station to build a high-frequency radar station. That's that one right there, right next to Davis, which is the Australian base. Dear, oh dear. These radar stations are powerful enough to block US satellites that passed over the southern polar areas. In 2013, China's Antarctic exhibition included a PLA satellite expert who installed new Daibu 2 GPS systems that utilized advanced global positioning system technology. Very, very interesting indeed. Yeah, China's not alone. However, China's not the only country interested in the resources Antarctica has got to offer. It would be unhelpful to think that it was only China interested in accessing those resources. Yeah, global powers have long tussled for dominance over Antarctica. Within a decade of the end of World War II, the US and what was then the USSR, our friends in Russia, were casting their eyes towards the Antarctic continent. Yes, and the British already, it was a goal the British already knew would not be easy. Yeah, very, very interesting. Now I'll leave the link to the main articles below the video so you can pop in and check these out. This is an excerpt from the 1957 operations plan for Antarctica. I just wanted to play a little bit of this. This is from the ABC in Australia. Let's have a quick little look here. Check this out.
Late last year, this video aired on Chinese state TV. It's showing off a state-of-the-art building. This tiny speck, surrounded by frozen tundra, perched on the rocky coast of Inexpressible Island in the icy Ross Sea, complete with sea views. 44 rooms with ergonomic bunk beds and Scandi-style timber furniture, couches for downtime, advanced security for your spacious room, overlooking the magnificent Ross Sea. While this might seem like an alpine resort, it's actually an outpost of the Chinese government.
中国南极站的建设完全符合南极国际规则和程序，将有利于增进人类对南极的科学认知。
This is Chinling Station, China's 5th Antarctic base and the 3rd that can operate year-round.
There is an increasing number of research stations in Antarctica. On one hand, that's a very positive development because it shows an increasing interest in Antarctic science and an increasing number of states that wish to be involved in Antarctic matters.
These kind of bases don't come cheap. It's part of China's growing effort to become the premier polar power, boasting permanent sea, air and land capabilities in Australia's backdoor frontier and next to a permanent US station. Not to mention access to potentially hundreds of billions of tonnes in natural gas and oil. With China's increasing play in the icy continent, it's worth asking, who owns Antarctica? Shortly after this photo was taken, all the people in it would die. This is British explorer Robert Scott's return leg from trying to be the first people to reach the South Pole. They'd been racing against a Norwegian expedition. It revealed the deadly side to this peaceful continent. Imperial competition, planting flags in the ground kind of stuff. All in the name of science. I wanted to understand US thinking on Antarctica. So, under Freedom of Information, I applied for these secret US documents. In it, we see the US preparing Antarctica as a future battleground. Simply titled Operations Plan for Antarctica, this document reveals secret plans by the US to beef up permanent bases to provide, quote, access by the US with friendly powers to the natural resources of the Antarctic. Now, US permanent bases were there lest US rights in Antarctica be diminished by the year-round presence of other nations. These bases are considered essential in terms of the US national interest. The US government then tasked the CIA with conducting extensive, highly detailed military geography studies of Antarctica. The 133-page CIA study reveals detailed information on oceanography, tides, water levels, coastal geography, even human survival in Antarctic waters. It was for the military. In 1959, a groundbreaking treaty formalised the demilitarisation of Antarctica and split the continent into different zones.
Realising that Antarctica and its South Pole was a treasure house of scientific knowledge, 12 major nations established permanent bases down there to probe its secrets. And several years later, those 12 nations signed a remarkable document, the Antarctic Treaty. Conflict over national claims was hampering scientific research, so all claims were set aside until the end of the century.
Antarctica is currently governed by the Antarctic Treaty System, but underpinning that Antarctic Treaty System is an agreement to disagree regarding sovereignty of the continent.
But global troubles never truly left this frozen continent. In the early 1970s, experts were already warning over conflict in Antarctica. Cold War tensions were casting a chill. If countries didn't stick to the rules,
it'll be a free-for-all jungle in which the big boys with the biggest resources and the most capital will just get down there and go for their lives, regardless.
A relatively minor incident, like ships from two rival navies ramming into each other by accident, could spark an all-out war. At the time, that was between the USSR and the US. While that war never happened, the problem endures. Now it's China and the US facing off, and with good reason. In 2018, a team of experts at the University of Cambridge investigated Antarctic sea lanes. What they found was staggering. Hundreds of ships zigzagging through Antarctic waters, making the southern continent critical to projecting power.
The Antarctic Treaty covers the area to 60 degrees south, so that's the waters around Antarctica as well as the continent itself.
Now, China is keenly aware of Antarctica's importance. It's been investing heavily and rushing to play catch-up. Since the 1980s, China's gone from zero real presence to a major Antarctic player. In 2009, a book-length study by the Polar Research Institute of China described the Antarctic as a global treasure house of resources. That same institute estimated that there are 500 billion tonnes of oil and between 3 to 500 billion tonnes of natural gas on the Antarctic continent, and a further 1.35 billion tonnes in the Southern Ocean.
China has been quite transparent that it doesn't want increased restrictions on its activities, particularly its resource-related activities in the Antarctic region. That's evident, for example, in its not being keen on the development of new marine protected areas, and just in its general rhetoric and posture within the Antarctic Treaty system.
Now, it's not just scientists China's been sending there either. We spoke to a senior intelligence source from Australia's Signals Directorate. They said China's Antarctic bases can serve as powerful platforms for satellites and radar systems. And this has the intelligence community concerned. Intelligence agencies know that China's military have participated in China's Antarctic program without the presence being noted in their annual reporting under the Antarctic Treaty. This is contrary to the Antarctic Treaty, and it's happened again and again. In 2008, 6 PLA personnel were sent to Zhongshan Station to build a high-frequency radar system. Why should we care? It's just radar, right? Well, these radar stations have the ability to block satellites that pass over polar areas, and that's a military-grade feature. In 2013, China's Antarctic expedition included a PLA satellite expert to install super powerful GPS systems. That's Google Maps on steroids, and it's a flagrant disregard of the Antarctic Treaty. China's shown it's happy to not always play by the rules.
But China is far from the only country interested in Antarctic resources. So it would be unhelpful to think that it was only China interested in accessing Antarctic resources.
Its own policy documents focus on Antarctica as a resource-rich land. So while China might say it wants to promote peace in Antarctica, its willingness to flout the rules could make Antarctica's next chapter very dangerous indeed. So who owns Antarctica?
Australians often get their answer to the question from sources other than Australian sources, who may have a vested interest in saying no one owns an Antarctica. But from an Australian point of view, Australia owns 42% of the continent. We may be agreeing to manage that collectively along with all the other treaty players, and we want to be a good partner within the Antarctic Treaty system. But Australia has not renounced that claim.
But treaties have been rewritten before, and the country that commits the most resources and has the most muscle could dictate what the next treaty looks like.
Well, that was very interesting. I thought that was very informative. I wasn't going to play the whole thing, but I thought for the 8.5 minutes, I thought that would give us a really good insight. Yeah. So basically, it's a free for all now. Yet global tensions have never left the frozen continent. Yep. So it literally comes down to the point where I want to know what's going on down there, because I think there's the Antarctic Treaty is being completely violated, which, as I said, really concerns me. Love to hear your thoughts on this. Either drop a comment in the live chat or drop a comment below the video when you see it after it's live. Now, this is a real quick one, but a really good one. This is Russian robotic Progress 89 cargo ship docks at ISS with tons of fresh supplies. Yes, so an uncrewed Russian cargo ship successfully docked at the International Space Station early Saturday, August the 17th, to deliver tons of fresh gear, food and other vital supplies. Automated Progress 89 spacecraft linked up with the International Space Station at 1:53 a.m. EDT, or 05:53 Greenwich Mean Time, at the station's Russian-built Zvezda service module, as both spacecraft sailed 260 miles or 418 kilometers over the South Pacific Ocean. Yeah, it'd be rather embarrassing if the Americans had to go to Uncle Elon and go, we've wasted all, well, he's going to go to Uncle Elon to get the Star Lemon back. Can you imagine all that taxpayer wasted money if Uncle Elon said, sorry, you know, I got a thing. I can't help you. I got a thing. Yeah, I got a thing to do. You know that thing? Yeah, I got to do that thing. So they've got to go to Pooty Poots to get them back with the Sawyers. That'd be hilarious. Contact confirmed, docking confirmed, NASA spokesman Robert Navius said during the live commentary as the Progress spacecraft arrived. Progress has reached the International Space Station. Yep, so as usual, leave the links to the main articles below the video so you can pop in, check out the embedded links and go for a bit of a deeper dive. Yeah, Russia's space agency, Roscosmos, launched Progress 89 to the ISS atop a Soyuz rocket on Wednesday from Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. The spacecraft is carrying 2.8 tons of supplies for the space station's 7-person expedition, 71 crew, and 2 Boeing Starlemon astronauts aboard. That'll be interesting. Yes, getting lots of supplies up there for the Starlemon astronauts. Yeah, there's probably more bits for the space toilet. Apparently, it keeps breaking for some reason. I don't know what they're eating up there, but fair dinkum. Supplies aboard include Progress 89 include 2,648 pounds or 1,201 kilograms of food, gear, and other dry goods. 2,094 pounds or 949 kilos of propellant. 926 pounds or 420 kilos of water, and 110 pounds or 50 kilos of nitrogen. Now, the cargo ship will remain docked at the ISS for 6 months before being backed with trash and unneeded items to be disposed by burning up in the Earth's atmosphere, NASA officials have said. So I think we should have a quick look at this to finish off this live stream today. Let's go and have a quick look here. Go full screen. Yeah. Fascinating. Absolutely amazing. Well, I found that very, very interesting indeed. There you go. Oh, yeah, I found that really interesting. Actually, there's some not bad little articles there. Thanks for joining me for another Studio 64 live stream. And once again, my name is David. And again, just testing out this Rumble Studio. It's very, very good. It's very easy to use. It's very easy to use indeed. Once you get your head around it, which doesn't take long at all. It's a little bit of a joy compared to normal live streaming. Believe me. Yeah. All right. Well, once again, my name is David. Thanks for joining me for another Studio 64 live stream. I shall see you in the next one. Now, we normally have these 11 a.m. on Saturday mornings, Australian Eastern Standard Time. And we go through a few ideas and everything else. Please feel free to drop a comment down below this video. Let me know what you think, whether the timing's any good, whether it's running too late, running too early, what you'd like to see in the live streams, because again, I'm just learning myself. All right, well, take care. And as I always say, if you can't be good at it. And I shall see you in the next one. All right, be good. Bye-bye.
Please, Spock, do me a favor. And don't say it's fascinating. No. But it is interesting.